Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I'll be playing the Wood Elves, and I'm going to be facing off against the Dwarves. So it's definitely something I don't like doing, simply because I don't like going after my own people. But again, guys, I thought this was a pretty good game, so I decided to bring it to you anyways. So as far as my front line goes, I have the Eternal Guards with shields. Great choice, armor-piercing shielded with high quality shields, actually. Something that really stands out about Eternal Guards in the Dwarf matchup is, again, it's a very atrocious matchup. And these guys have extremely high leadership. Right now, when buffed, they actually have 93. That's pretty incredible for how low tier of a unit they are, so very, very good stuff there. Tree Cannon in the secondary line. These guys are just the backbone, just making sure things don't collapse. Because again, even if the Eternal Guards get crumbled, these guys will usually stay and fight for quite some time with, their defensive capabilities. And in the back, another group of Eternal Guard to just plug in where needed, and of course, a Branch Wraith. So the Branch Wraith has a nice healing ability. He does have the, I forget what it's called, but the 6% movement speed buff to the entire army, so pretty useful there. I also did bring one group of Way Watchers. I really like these guys. I know they're quite expensive, but again, I just bring them kind of as a supplement to the army, not quite as a missile focus. And essentially, I use them to focus on runesmiths, other really important targets, and they do a pretty darn good job at that. So I've been enjoying those guys quite a bit. Let's see what else I got here. So then I have, of course, a Waystalker. The arrow ability that he has is quite strong. I got Mel Gibson over here. He's ready to go yell some anti-dwarfite stuff. He's good to go, and I like him a lot in this matchup. He has an armor-piercing missile, which doesn't do magic damage, so it's quite good. And also his other attacks here, the Hounds of Orion are kind of mediocre, but the Hawk's Talon is actually really good against like groups of Quarrelers and things like that are just sitting there. So I like Orion a lot. It brings a lot of utility. I do have the Cloak of Isha as well. I decided to get it this game and just try it out. So if he's below 20% HP, he takes a massive damage resistance. So you'll see it's actually pertinent in this game. And then, of course, he's got the Unbreakable attribute, Immunopsychology. He's quite a force to be reckoned with. He brings a lot to the table, so that's pretty much it. And then, of course, I got Hawk Riders, who are okay. They have armor-piercing melee attacks with 45 weapon strength, so aside from some light aerial missile skirmishing, they're pretty good at like diving Quarrelers and things like that. You don't want to leave them in sustained combat since they only have 15 damage, but for hit and runs, pretty good choice. And I do have some Vanguard action going on. I got some Wild Riders with shields, and this is such a good Vanguard spot. I was very happy I was on this map because he's more than likely going to, advance and set up here and use this natural terrain to kind of take away a flank, essentially, and that'll leave his whole back pretty exposed to those Wild Riders. So my opponent's army, he's got a Master Engineer, he's got some Quarrelers, which are a pretty good choice, armored, shielded, solid all around. He's got the Dragonback Slayers, he's got Dwarf Warriors, he's got Warriors of Dragonfire Pass for nice flame damage. He's got a Rune Lord with the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's huge against the Elves, and I think there might be some other leaders I would prefer against the Rune Lord, but still, he's a pretty good Lord. But the one thing is, he's a big target, so against Way Watchers and other units, it's a little easier to hit him, I found. He also has a flame cannon with some chevrons, and then he has, looks like, the Goblobber, so he's going to be chucking some goblins my way. Other than that, yeah, it looks like he actually has the Scolder Guard as well, which are armor-piercing anti-infantry. I don't know, I might have just brought the regular, what are those things called? Iron Drakes against the Wood Elves, but still, I mean, these guys are okay, and they'll do pretty well against, like, the Tree Cannon and other things like that, since they do have armor-piercing. But again, the flame damage, they have a 40% debuff, so I'm not sure how I feel about that pick, but aside from that, I like the rest of his army quite a bit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, he's advancing. He's probably going to either take this high ground up here or just posture up right here in this little valley and just use that natural terrain. That's one of my favorite things to do with the Dwarves, is take advantage of that type of stuff. And one of their weaknesses obviously is in being an open field, they're very vulnerable to flanking and things like that. But look at that damage on that. I have to just pause for a second. So that Waystalker shot his missile attack, and look at that. It just absolutely decimated those Quarrelers. And I think part of it was they were running in a kind of a diagonal way in conjunction, or as it pertains to my Waystalker, and was able to just penetrate down the line and do a ton of damage. So that's essentially some massive gain for me right there. So I was very, very, very happy. So you can already see in the way his troops are deploying, he is indeed going to use this high ground and this slope here to take away this flank. So I can't bring anything around here, but little does he know, I do have these guys literally lurking in the trees right here. So as soon as I get the opportunity and he's in position, I charge down here, and these guys are very fast. They have 91 run speed, so these Slayers are not going to be able to react in time. And I kind of timed it with when his missile fire did start, so he would have to focus a lot of effort on switching around. So these guys are going to get back here, and we'll just absolutely dumpster that front line. I still am taking massive damage from the flame cannon. Look at how much damage it did to those Eternal Guards. It literally flattened half the group, but still, the Deers and Rudolph and all the Rangers are back here doing their thing, and they just shut down the flame cannon. So unfortunately for my opponent, that's pretty much all the value he's going to get out of his backline siege troops. You can see the Dragonback Slayers are reacting, and of course here's the missile attack from Orion I was talking about. So let's go ahead and see if I was telling you guys the truth. And see, that's not bad damage at all. I mean, that's a good, like, what is that, 40-30% damage, and that's free, and that I can use that throughout the battle, and it's doing very well for me. But my opponent, very well played. He is using his Quarrelers to kind of shoot back here and pressure my Wild Riders, and he's finally starting to wear them down. Also, my Hawk Riders were able to get in there and do some good damage, so you guys can see you immediately want to pull those things out because they're so squishy. The Wild Riders did pretty well. Thankfully, they do have the silver shields, or else I would have taken a lot more damage. But still, I was able to essentially shut down his Goblobber, which is broken, as well as his Flame Cannon. So that's 2,000 plus resources gone already. So very, very good. In the front line, the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are fighting against the Treekin here. You can see they're making a little bit of a dent, but still, even with that flame damage, it's not as bad as it could be. But still, they're shaken actually. So definitely a big leadership hit there, and his troops are holding up pretty well. You can see the Hounds of Orion jumping around, and the Rune Lord is over here. So he definitely has a lot going on in the front line. The Rune Lord is taking quite a bit of damage, and Orion had thrown a few spears at him. Let's see, I think he's coming into melee because I threw maybe 4 or 5 spears, and his ammunition runs out pretty quickly. So I decided it was time to get down and dirty. So my Waystalkers are also doing a very good job, and this is also something I like the Waystalkers for in this matchup, is they're able to just shoot down these kind of really powerful single small unit groups like Iron Drakes, or especially the ones with flame attacks. Like, they put them down really quickly and then allowed the Wild Riders to come in who don't have armor piercing necessarily, so the 120 armor is a little tough. But still, they were able to get down. They're shaken. They're almost off the battlefield. But the Slayers, unfortunately, were able to catch my Branch Wraith out of position. I'm not sure how he got over here, so they're definitely going to go to town, lumberjack this guy pretty hard. So very well played on my opponent's part there. But you can see these guys, I got to get their name right, the Way Watchers, excuse me, not Waystalkers. They're doing a great job. They're just keeping these guys down, just pressuring them. Every time they stop and sit to shoot, they're taking massive HP damage, losing models. And every time you lose a model here, it's pretty bad. But still, he's firing into my tree line and doing a pretty good job. Thankfully, I have had the Earthblood periodically in my front line, which is really helping to mitigate a lot of my opponent's damage. But even still, I think the Flame variant would have been a little better because these guys aren't going to perform as well against, the lighter infantry. And I feel like the Flame ones would do pretty well against the tree with that additional 40% fire damage. So they're able to rout these guys off. They only have 3 models left, but by Branch Wraith, for some reason, my opponent let them live. I think he realized it wasn't like as big of a threat as maybe some stuff going on in my backline. So yeah, obviously he saw that these Way Watchers were doing some serious work. So you can see the Dragonback Slayers are hustling back there, and they should be able to cut through most of these troops. Thankfully, I do have these Treekin who will be able to stop them for a little while. It looks like he might just get a rear charge in the back line. So we'll give you guys a nice cinematic view here as the Dragonback Slayers come in and just absolutely dumpster some of these elves. Because the elves here, they do have very low armor, so the Slayers with their extremely high weapon damage, even though it's not, the traditional matchup you'd want them in, they're just going to absolutely butcher these elves. And you can see they're just getting karate chopped by the Dragonback Slayers. But the Treekin are here, they're helping out, so it's not a completely lost cause, and we do have some additional troops coming in as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back line here. You can see a lot of his coilers are just kind of free-ranging. My opponent has a very, very good position here. And Orion got a little overzealous. He charged through the back line, and I was really trying to finish that Rune Lord off. I was just giving it everything I had. But Orion is taking a beating now, and he got Earthblood, thankfully. But now, guys, this is where this ability comes in, the Cloak of Isha. He's getting a 44%, or he was, damage resistance. So, his hit points were indeed below 20%. So that probably saved me. And if I hadn't brought it, Orion probably would have died there. And this could have been a very, very different game. But my opponent, like I mentioned before, has a very nice pocket up here. He has some coilers, and it looks like my missile units. Oh, there's the arrow right there, and it's able to snipe him out. So the Waystalker doing a great job of finishing off that Rune Lord when supported by those Way Watchers over there. He does have these coilers up here who are getting the ballistics calibration. So they're getting the accuracy and the reload skill. And he has a nice little pocket here. So all 3 of them are getting that buff from the Master Engineer, who's also up here sniping with his heavy armor-piercing attacks. So very, very good positioning on my opponent right there. And, probably my best bet is honestly just hoping these guys run out of ammunition, because I didn't bring missile units to play that game. So I just have to hope these Treekin can just take these arrows all day. So in the front line, a lot of my guys are actually routing off. He does have the Dragonback Slayers, and he got that nice rear charge. I wouldn't have personally have thought to use them that way. I probably would have just, chased these guys and gotten kited into oblivion. So very, very good decision making there. But the Slayers get back here, and they're starting to collapse on a lot of my troops. I do have the Earthblood, and they're holding the line pretty well, and thankfully they do have shields, so any missile fire that comes in, they're doing a pretty good job defending against. But still, I'm kind of running out of ammunition here. You can see my Way Watchers, the 45 models here, and they have pretty good combat stats. But still, against the armored dwarves, it's not going to be the best choice. Thankfully, some Treekin are still in here fighting, but it looks like they just broke. So, of course, missile units are having to fight. That is never a good thing at all. So Orion is over here. He's hiding in the trees, literally. I had to scurry over there for cover, but right now he does have some ammunition left. It looks like he has about maybe 2 or 3 shots left, and he's going to start throwing some spears, and hopefully he'll be able to finish off some of these Scolder Guard, or it looks like he's going for some coilers. So he actually gets 2 models there, so not bad at all. Orion just absolutely pimping it. Mel Gibson's getting down in the trees, having a good time. Definitely a little Apocalyptica, or what is that movie called? The Apocalyptico that he's in? That one was pretty good. But anyways, I digress. So his missile units, thankfully, are starting to run out of ammunition. And my forces are taking a serious beating. I mean, I just have this Branch Wraith here. I have some Treekin. I do have some Eternal Guards up here, and I also have this Waystalker. So the Waystalker is definitely one of my saving graces right now. He's a very good melee combatant. You can see he's sniping out some of these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. My opponent quickly realizes the threat. he has his lone Scolder Guard. There's literally one Scolder Guard left, just shooting at him and doing pretty good. All of his troops are out of ammunition now, though, so this was great. So I still had a heroic unit. I had a very healthy group of Eternal Guards, and now that he's out of ammunition, Orion is going to be able to come back and fight, and Orion is unbreakable, so in this very close battle, Orion's going to make a big difference, and these Treekin coming back is huge. But other than that, I just have some Waystalkers coming back and some troops coming back from route, so it's a very, very close battle. And he still has a Master Engineer. You can see the Hounds of Orion getting over here. I want to get used to calling him Mel Gibson because I think that's so much better, but the Hounds of Mel Gibson are getting over here. They're jumping all over these Quarrelers. They are steady, but I still do have that Waystalker, and I have a surprisingly decent army left with these Treekin. I actually hadn't seen that animation. It looks like some of them actually do a little bit of a somersault there, so very, very cool. And these Eternal Guards, like I mentioned early in the game, guys, their leadership is so good. And despite, all the awful circumstances in this game, they're continuing to fight. You guys take a look, the power bar is still quite even. Orion is now back in the mix, which I think is going to be game-breaking, because Orion, he causes terror, he causes fear. You can see he just absolutely skewers that Scolder Guard, literally cuts the dude in half, and he's out of ammunition now, so he's going to have to get down and dirty in the melee. But my opponent does have some Quarrelers, he has some Dwarf Warriors back here, he does have a Master Engineer who's full health, and the Master Engineer hits like a truck. So if by some way he's able to get Orion with the Master Engineer, he might have a chance here. But Orion, thankfully, for me, is able to hide behind the trees. When he gets in here, he's so fast. He just skewers 3 or 4 Dwarves. And you can see that entire group of 38 Quarrelers gets terrified. He used the Hounds of Orion to disrupt their formation. He is just doing some serious work. So Orion, definitely the MVP this game. And that Cloak of Isha that he has is definitely helping me pull this one out of the dumpster. Because this game could have gone very, very differently if I had lost it. So again, you guys can see there's only 10 seconds left. Orion putting up a massive fight, and that Master Engineer is terrified. So again, that terror mechanic is just so huge in the 4th quarter. So that was a great game, very well played to my opponent. He had some good positioning up on there on the hill. And even though he lost the Flame Cannon as well as the Goblobber immediately, he still put up a huge fight. So very, very well played there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. So Orion did very good. You guys saw his bombardments were on point, did very well. The Waystalker, of course, you saw that initial damage on those Quarrelers, so that was quite huge as well. The Eternal Guards and the Waywatchers, I think they did pretty well. Granted, there is an argument to be made that it might be better to bring the 2 Glade Guards with armor piercing, but still, I wanted to try these guys out, and I don't believe they do magic damage, so you're not going to get mitigated in terms of focusing big targets. Wild Riders did good. The Hawk Riders were really disappointing. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't have brought them. I think just bringing 2 more Eternal Guards would have made a huge difference for me. As far as my opponent's army goes, I was wrong. I guess I was wrong about the Scolder Guard. I didn't think they would be that great, but they still did quite a bit of damage to my front line over the course of the battle, despite being focused. Dragonback Slayers, they were pimping it, running around, slaying some elves, doing their thing. But the big, I think kind of reason my opponent had issues was the fact that he lost the Goblobber and the Flame Cannon right away. If he had been able to protect those, perhaps left a group of Dwarf Warriors back there, it honestly could have been a completely different game. You guys saw that one Flame Cannon shot literally chunked my Eternal Guards in half, so... Anyways, very well played to my opponent, Fugly Pump. I look forward to seeing you again on Ladder. I think I've actually played you before, so again, look forward to seeing you again, I guess. And thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that elf cast. Have an excellent night, and take care.